You're somebody that's close to Daniel Snyder. Let me hear kind of the opposing view, because there are some that just feel like there's a disconnect between the owner and the fan base, and they brought in these guys to kind of rebuild and repair this disconnect, and now they're gone.
Well, I think, part of it is if you build it, they will come. If you win, people will show up, and the Redskins have not been able to win. That's one thing. I think, who is the face of the franchise?
Generally, it's the quarterback, and it was Alex Smith, and he was leading the way, and
right. And now it's gone. And I think, I don't understand the way Dan runs the business side of it. It's his football team. I think Brian and the other guys, Steve, they came in and in hopes to be able to build a fan base, to continue to try and get the fan base back. I think people have been discouraged by things that have happened. Certainly, we've had our share of controversial, questionable things happen to our football players, which I think reflects into the community. And, I still think a bit of this is a residual going back to some of the protests that happened. I know, talking to a lot of veterans, they aren't happy with it. And they basically said a couple of years ago, I'm done. I'm done. And what's happened is you
can say that, but the NFL ratings have gone up, at least TV-wise. Nationally, the TV ratings have gone up. Now, locally, I can't believe this. I mean, in your day, I can't imagine what the share was, but I know, years ago, not that long ago, a Redskins game locally would get a 30 share, and I saw that the Steelers game 2 weeks ago beat them head-to-head on the same network. The Redskins played at 1, had a 15 share. The Steelers had a 20 share.
Yeah, but think of the importance of the game, the quality of the game, the faces of the franchise. Once again, people watch players. Let's face it. They look for players. They because of fantasy football now, it's been promoted, so big as when it comes to a player. I may not be a fan of a particular team, but I'm a fan of an individual, or I may be a fan of someone's defense and not necessarily an individual. So, I think in the case of the Steelers, they've been hunting, and they've got names all over the place, marquee names all over the place. We don't. Let's be honest. At this point, it's been a struggle, and this is not an excuse, okay? And I don't want you to take it this way, or anybody listening taking it this way, but this is a players' league. If you have players that are outstanding, people are going to come and want to see them play. For some reason, we don't have the players, and one of the reasons is because everybody's on IR. I mean, this is the second consecutive year that you're going to have almost 20 guys on IR. Now, that's not an excuse. That's just a fact, which makes this football team a lot less competitive when it comes to playing teams and being in a position. The fact that we were a week away from having the possibility to qualify for the playoffs is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you. I agree with you with everything you're saying on the field. That makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I think winning is the great elixir. It cures everything. I'm just wondering, from a fan's perspective, why in 20 years Daniel Snyder has tried different things, and you can't speak for him, but you know him better than us. Why in 20 years have I never seen him sit with the fans in the actual stands? Why have I not seen him tailgate with the fans? Why isn't he on social media? While the Washington Capitals, as an example, have an owner who interacts with the fans, that walks to concourses, that tweets, that's on social media, this owner is almost inaccessible to the fans, and there's a disconnect.
Well, I think, I'm not Dan Snyder, and I can't give you a specific reason, or I can't even give you any kind of a reason why Dan does what Dan does. Obviously, he runs his operation a certain way. Other people run theirs a certain way. It's tough on the Redskins in Washington at this point because the Caps won the Stanley Cup, and I mean we were all just thrilled. I mean,
sure,
elated watching the run that they made and looking at the things that transpired after it. And Alex going all over the world, literally, with the cup. I mean, if you didn't get excited about what the Caps were doing, then you weren't alive. The Redskins, to a degree, basically had to compete against that also. But as far as the way Dan conducts his life and the way he does things, or whether he's in the stands, whether he's not, those are things that, I don't really know. I mean, Different owners do things different ways. I guess that's the only way I could look at it.